I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough, nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little...
Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. You're here tonight with Shananigans and myself, Novah. We are going to be talking about the cold case of Kevin Wesley Martin. And you see him on the screen there, plus all the other cases. We've touched on some of them. Together, Shan has touched on some in her channel. I've touched on some here on my channel. If you have any information regarding any of these cases, including tonight's case, Kevin, please look at your screen now. Take note of those numbers. Know that it's here in this video. You can refer back to it, and I will show it again at the end. One thing I want to start us off with tonight is a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about some things that not only within Kevin's case itself, but it's going to kind of lead us into some other topics or a topic of SA. And I want to give everybody that warning and trigger warning. So if you find tonight's live triggering, feel free to leave. That's no issue. That's for your own mental health. There's nothing wrong with that. So please do so, and we'll see you on the next one, okay? Sometimes things like this can be triggering. I know for Shan and myself, we both found it triggering just going through the material. But we're going to get through it. Yeah. So thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And one thing I'm going to ask you tonight, and I don't usually, really push this or, hi, Shan.
Hi.
Welcome. Nice to
Thanks
see
for having
you.
me.
Yes, indeed. I am going to ask, guys, please, if you can, please share this video tonight. And I see you all there saying hi and thank you so much for being here. Yes, please hit the like button. I'm not going to do the call outs tonight just because we got a lot of material to cover and we want to get right into this. But you know that we love you all and we're very happy that you're here. And thank you for being here. Yeah, so I really do want to ask everyone tonight, please share this video. Of course, every video is important to be shared, but this case is not talked about. Like, honestly, any case that I've gone through myself, all the cases I've ever followed, to me, it's like the forgotten case. Not to say that his family do not do some media interviews here and there, but it's kind of the old-fashioned way, of way back in the day when that's all we had, and you didn't really have the big media picking things up like this, and, I'm very surprised that by now, honestly, it saddens me that, W5 or The Fifth Estate or that other show, I can't think of the name of it, but didn't pick this up and touch on this case. It's sad. Maybe they tried and they couldn't get where any with it. I don't know, but this case really, really, really needs to be pushed hard. Um, yeah. So, what do you think of that, Shan?
I totally agree. I've been doing research on this case for about, I would say, 7 months. When I first started looking into Jack and Lily's case, I decided to look at all other unsolved cases in the area. And trying to find information on Kevin Martin was so difficult. I think yourself and myself are the only ones that have done YouTube videos at all touching on Kevin Martin. And
Yeah, I've seen none.
yeah, it's really, really sad because this boy was only 13 years old when he had his life brutally taken from him. And
Yeah.
there has been no arrests. There has been no real updates in a very long time. And his family never got closure. And
Mm,
it bothers me immensely to know that there hasn't been justice for what happened to
yeah.
him. And I just can't stand by. Like when I was talking to my family about this today, I just can't stand by and know that this kind of thing happens and that nobody is out there talking about it.
Yeah,
He
it's
deserves
sad.
to be spoken about. He deserves his story to be told. And that's what we're here to do today.
Yeah. It is sad. It's very sad. And so it's 32 years cold. There is a reward. I'm not going to read through this whole thing because the information that we are going to go over is going to have all that in it as well. But I just wanted to show you guys that it is on the province's reward list. And there he is. Yeah, 13 years old. Do you remember being 13, Shan? How
I was
innocent you
13 around
are.
the same time. I was 13 around
Yeah,
the same time as him. He's 1 year older than me.
yeah.
So yes,
Um,
I do.
yeah. So I think I was in my 20s, maybe 20, around there, early 20s, um, when this took place, and I remember it as well. My husband had his sister and her family lived in Stellarton, and I remember her coming down because she knew who Kevin was. She knew him. Um, her youngest son would have been in school with him as well. And I remember her coming to visit her mother and crying about this. And this was like, I think it was like the next day, or it was like just within the first couple of days. And she knew right away something was wrong. She was crying and saying, "There's something wrong here. They're saying he ran away. He did not run away. There is something wrong here." And the word at the time was that he did not have a good relationship with his stepfather. And that was basically, communities always talk. And that was the talk. And, Kevin's mother does admit that and discuss, and one of the articles we're going to go over, she does discuss that in there. Um, that he was questioned and told he was a suspect. And so, right away she felt something was wrong and she felt it had something to do with his home life. And it was you know, like she was saying that, it's well known that he does not get along with his stepfather. He, didn't like him. However, 13 years old, you're
Yeah.
getting at that age where you're kind of getting a little cocky with your parents and uh step parent. Um so it's hard to say. It's hard to
Yeah.
say, right? Either way what was going on there. Um but, yeah, and I
Well,
remember she would not let up with it, and she
mhm.
was so frustrated. She would talk about it quite a bit, and she would say, like, "They keep saying he ran away. He didn't run away, he's 13 for God's sakes," and, she was very upset about it, and I can imagine. Now, I didn't have kids then. I had kids soon after, and then knowing my boys, 2 boys at that age, yeah, I'd be pretty I wouldn't be saying he ran away. I'd be, you
Yeah.
know, quite furious and be wanting to find him yeah, I remember being 13 and you're thinking you're all that in a bag of chips,
I think
you
it's
know?
important
Mm.
to get a little bit of background as to what was going on in his life at the time too, right? So
Yeah.
obviously his mom was with a different man than his father.
Mhm.
His brother had been killed in a fire when he was 6 years old, his older brother, and they were only 10 months apart.
Mhm.
And he was being bullied at school and striving to fit in with some older kids at the time, and was hanging out with a bit of a rough crowd. So there was a lot of things going on. And when you're 13, life is hard anyway. You're just trying to figure
Yep.
out who you are, what you're doing, you're just coming into yourself. You're just entering into the teendom, so to speak. So um, it comes with its own challenges in itself without adding any additional stresses like probably post-traumatic stress, and the butting of heads as males often do with their fathers or father figures of trying to assert themselves. So there was a lot going on in this boy's life, and he
Yep.
probably felt like he had a lot to prove. And maybe we can talk about, do you want to talk about what the theories were or like the lead up to his disappearance?
Well, let's start with this article.
Okay.
And as we're going through, we're going to come into those theories. So
Okay.
this is the article from the medium. Not I want to keep calling it the medium. It's medium, just medium. Um, and it is written by Carl O'Brien. I'll put that in the chat. And he did a very good job because what he did, when you read all his resources, he took all the articles that there were at the time of him writing this. There were some more articles after that. And he went through all those articles and took all that information in the articles, which is all there is. Um, and Yes, Little Black Bear. It's a young person missing from Nova Scotia. It's a cold case. He went missing and then he was found. Uh, it's a homicide now. And it's been cold for 32 years. Um, and Yeah, so he compiled that and it's written very well. I think it'd be a disservice not to take that and put it out there in a YouTube video and bring it a bit more alive than it's sitting where it's sitting and not being seen because it wasn't easy for me to find that article. Um, uh, Charlie O'Brien.
While I have a chance, if someone in my chat wouldn't mind, actually, I don't know if you will be able to. I'll have to do it. Never mind. I'm going to post a link to your channel, Nova, and mine as well.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I should have starred yours when usually I star them so I don't have to keep looking for the link or getting them to write it over. And Ginger, put your link up. Yeah, so
Yes.
it's the site is called Medium, and it's Charlie O'Brien who wrote this for me for the I just keep wanting to call it the Medium. Um, so check out that site. It's just Medium. uh, where did you go, Ginger, with that? There it is. There, I can star it, so I can just go into that. Um, yeah, so because I don't know why, but with my laptop connected to my monitor, the writing comes up very blurry on here. So I literally have to go over to the screen where this article is. So I'm here, but I'm not, if you know what I'm saying. And we'll read parts of it and then we'll stop and discuss. But if you have something you want to discuss before I stop, just speak up, okay? And let me know and we'll stop and discuss because sometimes, if you don't do it right away, you lose that thought that what you want it to say.
Yes, and I left my notebook upstairs.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we go over to the article?
No, I think the article will probably give a good idea of the circumstances leading up to his disappearance. And
Yeah.
I did read this article, and I think I read all the articles there was. So,
Yeah, yeah. I wish there was more. And I
yeah,
mean, there are a few articles, but and then some I tried to get into, and you can't. Like there was an interview with his mother on CTV News, and you can't get into that anymore. So that was disappointing. But he has some quotes in his article here about what she had stated in that, and he does have the link there, but when you click on it, it's a dead link.
yeah.
So that's disappointing that that stuff disappears. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go over to this screen, but I am.
Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Those who are late, we're not going to do the um, meet and greet today. But thank you all. I see you all, and I appreciate you. And Nova, I know you said you were going to the other screen, but your icon is gone. So I don't know if you left completely.
I did. I
Okay.
accidentally. I was wondering why you were talking. I was like, well, why is she talking? I'm reading this article.
She's so
Um,
rude.
that happened with you one time too. You were wondering, and you were muted. Um, I was I had scrolled back and I was just reading the name of the article there and it had the word murder in it and I said I can't play this YouTube game. I got to call it what it is. You know, Kevin Martin, the unsolved disappearance and murder of a Nova Scotia teen. And then I said, there he is. And what a precious boy. Can't you just tell that he was just a sweet boy?
He looks very innocent. Just
I
just coming
know.
into age, just you can you know how naive you are at 13 years old. You think you know everything.
Exactly.
It is really disheartening. He looks like everyone's son. He could be anyone's son.
Yep. So sad. All right. And guys, this is a long article, so we're going to try to get through it. It's important, though. It's an important article, very important article. Kevin Martin, the 13-year-old Stellarton boy who disappeared in May of 1994, his remains were discovered 6 years later, and his murder is still unsolved. And now it would be 32 years later. In May of 1994, Kevin Martin was a regular 13-year-old boy living with his family in Stellarton, Nova Scotia. It was a rural mining town with schools, grocery stores, parks, sports facilities, a library, and a great deal more. And if anyone knows of Sobeys, if you live here in Canada, um, this is where the Sobeys are from and where the Sobeys food stores uh, food chain originated from. Um, Downtown on the downtown Stellarton, which wouldn't be far from where Kevin lived. Um, yeah, so it had a library and a great deal more. Though it was a small town, it was a fairly decent place to live. Kevin Martin lived on McKay Street, just a short walk from Ford Street. And by the way, I live in Stellarton as well, currently. The town's main street. So he lived on McKay Street, a short walk from Ford Street, the town's main street, as well as nearby the junior and high school. He lived with his mother and stepfather, Bonnie Thomas and Danny Thomas, as well as multiple siblings. Now, do you want to pull up the map now, Shan, and show?
Sure.
May as
One
well.
moment.
And I can tell you guys what direction the school would be in and what direction the highway would be in, just to give you an idea of uh yeah, where he was.
I put it there. You just have to bring it up.
Whoops, clicking the wrong button, sorry.
So this is Stellarton, and this is McKay Street.
And it's a long street. It pretty much that's because that is South South Main down there. I think I can't remember which end is south or north, but it runs along pretty much the whole end
Yeah,
of that end of town where the main street is. But it's like I think one or two streets down from the main street.
yeah. So we're facing north. So north is up, south is down.
Yeah. So yeah. So if you were to go
Uh,
up, the high
yeah,
school is up, no, up like to your left, which might be your right. The high school's up that way. Um, Now straight down that road is where he would go down there, take a right, go straight down, and that would take him right to the highway if he wanted to thumb somewhere, say. Just to let you know how easy it would have been for him to get to the highway if he wanted to. Not saying he did, but who knows? Who knows, right? Yeah. So you see,
here. The North Nova Education Center, or
no, that wouldn't have been there then. It would have been up, yeah, towards your air where your arrow is now. It would have been
okay,
over that end of town. Yeah. Yeah, it would have been up
okay.
there, right in that area. Yeah. Um, yeah, North Nova Education Center wasn't there then. That was each town had its own schools.
I
That's
feel
one
like
of
it was
the
called
super schools.
Academy, isn't it?
Was it Stollerton Academy? See, I didn't go to high
I,
school in Stollerton, so I can't remember.
I think it is Academy. Stellarton.
If you went up by NSCC, It's just across the street from that and down the road. It's in this exact same area as Nova Scotia Community College. It's actually an apartment building now for seniors.
Okay. No, we don't want the golf academy. But
No, it's by the park, the
now,
Albion Park. It's not too far from there.
okay, yep. The NSCC Pick 2 campus. It's right here.
Right. So see where the
Yeah.
park is?
Yeah.
Well, the school is just down past there, and you go straight down, and the school's down that road. It's an apartment building now.
Okay. So likely this
Yep,
here.
yep, that's it. That's it. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So you see how that when they're saying, he lived close to the school and he lived close to the highway. So, nothing was very far away. Um, so you know, did he try to hitchhike back to well, we're going to get into it, I guess. And you guys will see like he may have attempted to hitchhike on the highway. Don't know if he was known for that. Who knows, right? Who knows? Um yeah, anything else you wanted to look at on there? So just keeping
Um,
keeping that area in mind as well, because one of the theories that is out there of what may have happened to Kevin has to do with a man who's also living in that same neighborhood where Kevin lived, in that same area.
yes. Carl Skidmore, who
Yeah,
um, is notorious for being a pedophile in the area. And
yeah,
he volunteered. One of the many ways he had access to children was through his work at the church, which is highlighted there, the First Presbyterian Church. He actually was a Sunday school teacher there and volunteer. And you can see the proximity of the church to McKay Street. And Carl lived on one of the adjoining streets within proximity to Kevin's property as well. So it
yeah.
is very possible that he would have walked right by his property.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely for sure. Yep, yep.
Yes,
All
we are
right.
going to go in depth into Carl. I don't even like saying his name. He disgusts me,
I
but
know.
we will be
I
going.
know.
We'll, we'll be going in depth into his history and what he was up to in the years surrounding Kevin's disappearance.
It's gross because it humanizes them. It
Yeah.
makes you feel gross, right?
Hmm.
Um, oops. Yeah, it's disgusting. All right, so Kevin Martin had always been a nice, quiet boy, and you can tell. I mean, you can just look at that picture and see. They say pictures say 1,000 words. You can tell he's a nice boy. He's only 13, for heaven's sakes. Who was kind to his younger siblings and had a good reputation in town. So that tells me he wasn't into drugs. He was not a kid who, did time in juvenile centers, or, he wasn't into trouble. He was a good kid. He was a thin boy with brown hair and a nice smile. People liked him a great deal. However, 13-year-old Kevin was going through some personal issues. Things weren't going very smoothly at home, and he found himself struggling. He was at the age where he was becoming rebellious against his parents and needed to figure out who he was. Things got so bad that on two separate occasions, Kevin Martin had run away from home for a short period of time. So again, I struggle with that because we don't know If it's your typical, like if he didn't go missing, I wouldn't be struggling with it. But because of the fact he went missing and then was found murdered, I struggle with it because then you wonder, okay, was there something else maybe going on in the home? We don't know, right? And it is one of the theories. And his mom herself states the stepfather was treated as a suspect. So he's passed away now. Um, so, we don't know. Um, Kevin Martin had been bullied often at school. He wanted desperately to be uh, part of a friends group. He was looking for acceptance. About 6 months to a year before Kevin Martin went missing, he had fallen in with a bad group of new friends, and I struggle with this as well because it's his mom who has put this tag on a bad group of friends. And the reasoning for that is because Kevin and these friends had skipped school. Well, I skipped school and my friends did. And we weren't bad. We were doing what every other kid was doing. Um, Again, if they were skipping school and getting caught doing drugs and robbing places and they were bad characters who were spending time in juvie and then I would say, that's a bad group of friends he fell in with and followed suit. But they were skipping school. But back in the day, things were expressed a little different than they are now. If that's all your kids doing today, huh, and my kids did it. The older one got caught, mind you. And I didn't think he was a bad kid, and I didn't think the kids that he skipped school with were bad kids or that they enticed him to do it. He made that choice to do that. But so I do struggle with that a bit. On May 19th, 1994, Kevin Martin had run away from his Stellarton home and gone to stay with a friend in nearby Thorburn. His mother and stepfather had driven out to Thorburn to pick him up. Now, that's quite a ways down the highway from Stellarton. Um, and in fact, I used to live in Stellarton or Thorburn before I moved here to Stellarton. Um, yeah, so it's maybe a 15-minute drive from Stellarton to Thorburn. Um, so they had driven out to Thorburn to pick him up and brought him back home. Kevin had been extremely agitated as he didn't want to be with his family at that time and needed to cool off. That kind of begs the question as to why they didn't allow him to stay there to cool off. Um, Once they arrived at their house on McKay Street, Kevin got out of the car, jumped the fence, and ran off. His mother had called for him to return home, but Kevin refused to listen to her. Believing that her son would return home when he was ready, the worried couple didn't chase after the running teen, but instead called the local police. Even if Danny Thomas, Kevin's father, wanted to chase after the runaway boy, he wouldn't have been physically able. He had a cast on his broken leg and had limited mobility. So let's stop there and I guess I shared my thoughts along the way. I probably shouldn't do that. I should probably just read, but I can't help myself.
No, that's fine.
Any any thoughts thus far?
I agree with as to why he was picked up in Thorburn, like why they went out of their way to go and pick him up, knowing that he didn't want to come back and that he was with friends. Um, but then things were different then. You didn't have cell phones. You didn't, most families didn't have
Hmm,
two vehicles. And it's possible that, she had to work and he had stuff to do. And that was the time slot in which they could go and get him. And that's the way things were different back then, right?
true, true.
And when we talk about the theories, in a bit, I will say that that was one of the reasons why I struggled to jump on board the stepfather express, so to speak, because he had a broken leg, and when we find out exactly when we discuss what happened to Kevin, um, it leads me to believe that he would need to have someone very capable to assist him in putting Kevin where they did. And I struggle to think that a mother could do that or would participate in that. Um, but I would be curious to know when and how he injured his leg, the
Yes.
day.
Yes, I was curious. I was curious of that as well, Shan. Wondered the
Yeah.
same thing.
Like, if it
And
happened that same day or the day after was when went to hospital, then I would obviously have different idea. But if he
yeah,
already was in a cast, I struggle to believe that he was responsible.
yeah. Or how old was the injury? How close was the injury to healing and the cast coming off is another question.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm getting at. That,
Yeah.
was the cast still on his leg the next day after Kevin went missing? You know? Was the
Yeah.
cast
And
supposed to come off within the next few days and he didn't go to the doctor's like just questions that pop into your head, right?
yeah. Yeah, and that would be information that the RCMP would have had access to the time,
Would
I would
have.
presume.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, yeah. And, we're going to get into where his mother talks about the stepfather being a suspect. And that made me curious as well because I'm thinking, well, they would have known. They would have known he had
Mhm.
a cast on his leg when they went to talk to him. Why wouldn't they have thought that, oh, geez, he couldn't have done this? So either they feel he did have something to do with it and that he received help in
Yeah.
moving Kevin, or he didn't have a cast on his leg the day that they went to speak to him because perhaps it was removed. Just things that pop into my head.
Yeah, and as
Um,
we go on through discussing the case, um, the lead detective, retired, Muir, I think his last name was, um, he stated that there was people that knew and that
right.
whoever was responsible had help. So
Had to
we
have
know,
help.
yeah, we know that there is at least two people involved in maybe not necessarily the his murder, but in his moving of Kevin to where the location to where he was found.
Yep, exactly. Yep, yep. Because of his previous history as a runaway teen, the local police believe that he was simply a runaway. So sad how that happened back then, eh? And I know it still happens, but not as frequent as it used to. Um, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say most runaways are found within 24 to 48 hours.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And they treated his case as such. He would likely return in the next day or so. See, they believed. He had, after all, run away twice in one day. The nice May weather meant that a great deal, and guys, when they're saying run away, they don't mean he ran away, 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 and was going to start a life somewhere else. They're talking about he took off at a friend's house, right, to stay there for the day or the night or whatever is what they're meaning. Um, just to make sure you understand that. or that he ran away and was living out in the streets or anything like that. That's not the case. The nice Mayweather meant that a great deal of troubled kids would leave home, that eventually come home when the weather cooled off or when they ran out of money or food, especially after a brutally cold Nova Scotia winter. I don't ever remember that when I was younger, kids running away. I don't ever remember, a lot of kids that ran away and, oh, they'd be gone for the summer and back home for the winter.
No,
That's bizarre to
not
me.
at 13.
No, and not around here.
No.
Um, Kevin Martin's mother, Bonnie Thomas, was frantic. I would be too. She was determined to get her son back. He was just 2 months away from his 14th birthday. She had no idea what had happened to him and couldn't get a hold of Kevin. And like you said, no cell phones back then. It's not like today. Trying to track somebody down is different than today, for sure. A great deal of people believed that he just needed space away from his family and was hiding out for a while, possibly with one of his friends. Wouldn't that have been nice if that was the case? Bonnie Thomas believed that one of the reasons why her son was acting out was because he missed his late brother. Kevin had witnessed his brother, Olin, die in a house fire in 1987. Olin and Kevin had been only 10 months apart, and that's just heartbreaking. I can't imagine what that would have done to him. My two boys, and whether you're close in age or not, you have twins. This is what they would call Irish twins. I have
Yeah.
Irish twins as well. They were
Hmm.
11 months apart, and they were very close. And I'm sure I mean, of course, they had their spats as well, but they were close. Um, and I can't imagine that, Shan. That's just so heartbreaking, and how heartbreaking for the family as well to have lost these two boys in such
Yes.
horrific ways. Like, that's so sad. Um, the two boys had been extremely close. They had even looked quite similar, and you can see them in the picture there, and they do look like twins. My boys were like that as well. They really look like twins. My God, they're cute. Um, they look nearly like twins. The fire was later determined to be accidental, but Kevin was not the same after that night. Well, no, he wouldn't be. He should have, hopefully, probably not back in that day. So we know so much more now, so I doubt he was in therapy, but you never know. About a year after Olin's death, Bonnie had remarried her new husband, Danny Thomas. This was yet another big change in young Kevin's life. But the days went on and Kevin Martin didn't return home. The police had received all sorts of tips of people claiming to have seen Kevin or spoken to him in the local area. Some
Yes.
were from friends and family, though they also had tips from complete strangers. He had been
Hmm.
allegedly spotted in town around Pictou County, and there were a few tips saying that Kevin Martin had headed out west. What do you think of that?
I think that the people that called in those tips that said that they had spoke to him and seen him should be questioned thoroughly,
Yep.
because to me that screams deflection and misinformation to a degree. Like, if you
Right.
actually knew Kevin and then went to the police and said that you had spoke to him, knowing what we know now, why would someone do that other than to take the heat
Misdirect.
off of looking for him or continuing to search? It would be a way to just reinforce the police belief that he had run away and just was living a different life. So it's very suspicious to me, and it's reminiscent of other cases that we've talked
Mhm.
about with tips that don't make any sense. Look over here while this is happening over there, type of thing.
Yep. And that's why I said when Jack and Lily's case started, I remember thinking, gosh, I hope that crap that I've seen in other cases around here doesn't start. You know, uh, that foolishness, and sure enough it did.
Yeah.
The big one there is even a few tips saying that Kevin Martin had headed out west.
Hmm.
Well, where did you hear that? Like that's
Yeah. Who told you
I
that?
exactly, because he
Hmm.
clearly didn't. And what
Yeah.
13-year-old is heading out west? Um, and you know, the spotted him. Some people are so hopeful and want to find somebody that I can see. Same as the
Yes.
Kenley case where his uncle thought he saw him and at the airport bar, and I can see that happening and not having so much of a nefarious background to it. But
Yes.
Tip saying he headed out west, that's a little funky.
And
Yeah.
that they spoke to him.
Mhm.
That's different than just seeing someone from afar.
Yeah. Yeah, because who'd they hear that from? Only he would be the one to say, "Hey man, I'm taking off. I'm heading out west," right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
That was the same story they gave actually for Alex Penny, who was found down in the well.
Yes.
They had said he had
Yes.
gone out west. So,
Yep. Same as Billy Smith.
yeah, that's yeah,
Same
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yep. Toronto
yeah.
for him. He headed out
Go, it
Toronto
reminds me
or
of that
something.
song, Go West, Life is Peaceful there.
Apparently, that's stuck in a lot of people's heads.
Yeah.
He headed out west. It's peaceful out there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. Geez, yeah, commonalities, in these cases.
Yeah.
Um, as time went on, weeks and then months, the local police were becoming more concerned about the whereabouts of Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin's grandma, Joan, contacted the local police often as she was receiving numerous phone calls that she believed would help her grandson's case. I wonder what that was about. Doesn't specify, and I wish it did.
Yes, I
Um,
wish we knew what she was saying.
yeah,
Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but it would be great to know what kind of tips she had passed on to the RCMP
yeah,
because I think it's in this article, but she used to go out driving with
yep,
the lead detective looking
yep.
where children hung out looking for him. Like she was very, very heavily involved in looking for Kevin.
She was and I'm not saying nothing about any other family members, but she was the voice for Kevin, really. She was the push. She was the one calling the police all the time, looking for him. She wasn't waiting for his birthday to come up.
Yeah.
Um, you know, yeah, and trying to pass on what information she could. And that's why I'm curious as to what it was, right?
Yeah.
What direction was that in? Um, yeah. Kevin's grandma began driving around the Stellarton streets with police
Oh,
officer Hugh Muir. It's so weird to read these names because I know these people. Hoping to catch a glimpse of her missing grandson. But though they drove all over the area multiple times, she never caught sight of the missing boy, and that's sad. Okay, she's out, and and God bless him for doing that.
I would love to
Taking
speak
take
with him. I wonder
mm,
if the fact that it's been 32 years, whether he'd be willing to sort of share more information. Um,
do you
it's
know, I
something I
never
thought about
thought of
doing.
that. Okay. I never thought of that because I did the FOIA. Well, they don't call it a FOIA here, but I'll just, for the sake that everybody
Mhm.
knows what I mean. Um, and I didn't hear back. But that was through our CMP because this is now a major crime, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I never thought of that, Shan.
Maybe we could have
Could be a
coffee with
part
him
two.
sometime.
Yeah, yes, there could be. Had a feeling there was going to be a part two to this. Because honestly, what else is there at this point? A case that's 32 years cold. It's
Mhm.
time to go to the next step here and put some more information out there. Get people talking.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
because
yeah.
was it yourself? I remember speaking to you a while back about this case, and someone, I feel like it may have been you, but somebody had said that they thought that um, that what happened to him was like an accident, and they didn't realize that he had actually been murdered. Maybe it wasn't you, but I remember speaking to someone
Mm,
local and they had said, "Oh, I didn't realize he was actually murdered. I thought that they had found him and it was an accident, like a hunting accident or
well,
something."
yeah, you had said that I had said that, but when you said that, I thought, oh, I think I was because I get things mixed up now. That I might have thought you were talking about Alex Penny because
Right.
I always thought Alex Penny was a hunting accident. Um,
Okay. Right.
so if you might have said Kevin Martin and my head might have went to Alex Penny. Because they were both found uh ne- out near on the off of the 289,
Yeah.
uh the Garlic Road Highway.
Mhm.
Except Kevin was over the lines. He was in Colchester County. And if I did say that, that's why I said it. I just got
Dragonfly
the
is
mix.
saying it was them that said it. So maybe it was
Oh,
them.
okay. There you go. There you go.
And we haven't said Lisa yet where he was found. We're getting there.
Yep, we're gonna get there, guys, and Shan's gonna pull it up on the map. Um, the picture on the screen there gives you kind of an indication that I put up in the background.
Very similar.
Um, Yep, yep. Um, yeah, so by winter of 1994, police were checking local camps in nearby woods, believing that he may have simply decided to camp out for a while. They never found any sign of him. In 1995, the local police were receiving less tips from the public, and that's what happens, and there didn't appear to be any more sightings of the missing teen. Had he left the area? Had something happened to him? People were worried about Kevin's safety. July 23, July 23rd, 1996 would have been Kevin Martin's 16th birthday. It was an important milestone in the young boy's life. Once he had turned 16, nobody could force him to return to his family home. He could legally make his own decisions about where he wanted to live, and that is the age here in Canada for our other friends around the world. So I think in the US it might be 18 or probably is by state per state, but in Canada it is 16. He could legally make his own decisions about where he wanted to live, what he wanted to do with his life. Kevin Martin's family held a birthday celebration for their missing son on Ford Street, waiting expectantly for him to come out of hiding. That's sad. They missed him a great deal, and he had been gone for a long time. Unfortunately, Kevin never appeared. They became even more worried than before. Local police began to suspect that something had happened to the missing Stullerton boy, you think, by now? And that the reason why he hadn't returned home was because he was possibly dead. Years went by, and there was still no sign of the missing boy. Then, on November 13th, the year 2000, Kevin Martin's body was discovered in a shallow grave on a rural logging road in Burnside, Colchester County. The location of his remains was near Upper Stewiacke, about 40 kilometers away from his Stellarton home. His body had been discovered because one of Kevin's sneakers had been sticking out of the dirt. And we'll come back over to you and pull that map back up. Um, yeah, so you see there, guys, that's why I put the Logan Road picture up there, and it's sad. Yeah, so this is off the 289, which is the road where Lily and Jack went missing from. And although it's over the county lines and it's in Colchester County, not Pictou County, it is not far from uh, there. I think maybe 20 kilometers. Lansdowne Station, yep. Can't hear you, Shan. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I zoom out here. This is Lansdowne Station right there. And then this is
Yep.
the 289. And then we have, um, this is Burnside here. So all of
Yep.
these areas that you see, these are all logged areas. I don't have the precise location as to where
Yep.
he was found. So I've kind of centralized it into what looked like one of the older logging areas that had new growth, because I'm thinking that, 25 years ago, they were taking down the trees, which is how they found him. So we would have to have 25 years of new growth.
Wow.
One of the areas that stuck out to me in this area was there's a waterfall in this area, the Burnside waterfall. So I wanted to, which would have been like an area that people would know, that would have frequented, but in either case, it is very, very rural, a very rural
Oh,
area.
yes.
There
Yep.
are very little homes. Um, I suspected that um, it was likely in and around the area of the waterfalls. This is the Burnside Community Waterfalls. Um, so I actually think it was somewhere in this vicinity, off one of these old logging roads, which there are quite a few. Um, but yes, very, very rural community. And they've just said that, on the border of Colchester and Pictou County. So this is pretty much like the border. That's the border line there. So, um, but Burnside is a small area, so you're looking basically in this area here.
Yep.
Um, and then there's Lansdowne Station, and here you have. I've got some notes here, about one of the suspects where he sort of frequented. And then Thorburn, there is where his parents picked him up from his friend's place.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and you see the
um,
highway there.
I don't think
So
that was
that's
any
why I was
affiliation.
saying,
Yeah,
no, I don't either. I don't either. No.
but something tells me that whatever happened to him, he met with someone really close to the vicinity of his property. Maybe, he went to one of his local hangouts, a park or something like that. Um, I think that's what happened. He was seen and lured in by some people, in and around, within a short period of time of him taking off.
Yeah,
I
I
can add
agree.
Alex Penny to that map, Dragonfly, if you like. I do have another map. This is just the one I was doing specifically for Kevin. But um, Alex was found. Uh, so to drop a pin, I know somebody was asking me earlier. You click on this button here, add place mark, and then click on it. And this is where Alex Penny was found. And his car was also found near the pipeline on Matheson Road, which I believe was about right here. His car was found. And Burnside, actually, as well, the pipeline trail runs all the way down to Burnside as well. So it is possible that somebody could have traveled all the way there on an off-road vehicle.
Yeah, I don't know if the
They're
pipeline
not,
was
they weren't
there
unheard
then.
of. No, but the other trail, there was another trail, not the
Oh,
pipeline
okay,
trail, but
okay.
what's the other trail called? This
Although I
one is the
know there's
pipeline
tons of
trail here, but
trails.
then there's like
Yeah, yeah,
the
there's
old
tons of
train
trails
tracks
in
they
there, you're
converted
right.
into,
Yep,
yeah.
yep, because it goes all the way to
So
Stewiacke, and actually, it
basically,
goes all the way to, uh,
yeah,
where, Belinda lives. Goes all the way to there, that trail you're talking about.
yes, yeah, all the way to, yep, all the way to Musquodoboit,
Muscataba, yeah,
further. And this is roughly where Billy Smith was found.
that's right.
Oh, no,
Yep,
sorry, this side, I think. Yeah. A lot
he
of
would have
strange
been
occurrences for a
close
small
to
area.
I know, right? I know exactly where Billy was found. Yeah, he would have been close to the side of where Trenton is. I don't even know if they get Trenton on there, but um yeah, yeah, on
I have
Chance's
him on
or
the other
down
map, but
Pictou Landing.
I know he was
Yeah,
near the
sad, eh?
cemetery, so yeah.
Yes, it was.
Um,
Yeah.
I will make a note to add, Kruger was found in the woods off a logging road just west of where Alex Penny was found. Derek Kruger. Thanks, Facts versus Myths. I will, hold on. Hopefully
Yeah.
I've got a notebook down here somewhere.
And there's another one of the cases there. I can't remember which one it is, Shan, but it's one of the ones you've been looking at and I've been looking at with the boys there, all the boys that are missing. One of them was
Oh, yeah.
also found in Burnside. Which one is it? Do you remember?
Another boy was found in
Uh,
Burnside.
yeah, it's
Um,
one of the cases that you and I are looking at, the group those the boys that are missing. One of them was
Jesse
also
Morrissey
found.
wasn't, yeah, Jesse Morrissey wasn't found yet, but it was,
Was
Troy
it
Cook wasn't found.
was it
Zach
Zachary?
Zach
No, Zachary
hasn't been
wasn't
found
found yet,
either.
but they know it's a homicide. Troy hasn't been found. Who was it? Maybe
I
it was
know
somebody I read
that
about.
Kayla Trask and Tyler Meager were found, but they were found up near Fox, just kind of west of Foxbrook. On
Who?
uh, Kayla Trask and Tyler Meager in the burnt out
Oh, Green
vehicle.
Hill. They were found in Green
Yeah,
Hill.
yeah,
Which is, oh, again by Lansdowne.
yeah.
That's right in that same area. Um, oh my gosh, it'll come to me. But it's another case, one of the missing gentlemen, young lads that went missing, and he was found in Burnside as well. That struck me. I was like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on
Well, yeah,
here?"
that's something I want to look at for sure because I must have missed that one.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't have it in my missing posters, but it must have been one that I read about but didn't do a poster on yet, but I distinctly remember it saying Burnside because I was like, "What the heck? Like, what is going on here?"
I'm gonna have to look
Uh,
that up while you're reading.
yeah.
'Cause I will I
Alright.
that is something I will need to know.
Yes, definitely. It struck me. I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." Authorities never revealed the exact details on how young Kevin Martin had died. This information was not released to the public, as they knew that only the killer or killers responsible for the boy's death would know this information. Police were certain that Kevin was murdered shortly after he had disappeared in 1994. So, just like you said, Shan, uh, it is so those sightings of, people thinking they saw Kevin or falsely reporting they saw Kevin or falsely reporting that, they were told he went out west, was heading out west, um, all false, right? And
Yes.
that just goes to show you too how the ones that were falsely put in without no nefarious reasoning behind it, how that can happen, how those tips can be put in where somebody thinks they saw somebody, because they're hopeful and they want to see that
Yeah.
person alive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they're pretty certain as well that he disappeared shortly after um he or that he was murdered shortly after he went missing. Kevin's sneakers and clothing were collected from the crime scene. When forensics thoroughly investigated the young boy's remains, they determined that it had been a homicide. Although the exact details of his death have not been revealed, Sergeant Dave Dara, Bible Hill RCMP, told reporters in March 2001 interview that Kevin Martin died of violent means. We would describe it as a cold, brutal murder of a little boy. And another article I had read, they were saying how it was horrific. It was very horrific how he was murdered. So, um, Kevin Martin's family so it wasn't definitely wasn't an accident. It wasn't, he was out with those other teen boys and they were messing around, an accident happened and he got hurt and they were afraid and drove him out there and buried him because it was definitely an intentional, uh, horrific murder. Um, Kevin Martin's family were alerted to the fact that the remains belonged to Kevin Martin in March of 2001, 4 months after the boy's remains had been discovered. It was a terrible day for the family who had been holding on to the hope that their teen son was still out there and would return home. They were filled with grief, sorrow, and a whole lot of unanswered questions about who would do such a thing to the young boy and why? And it struck me when you read that they were filled with grief and sorrow because this is at the point where you would use those words.
Yes.
Um, because prior to that, you're holding on to the hope that he is out there and he's still alive. So it just struck me when you read that and you think of Malaya using those words on what was it, day two of the kids missing? Uh,
Yes.
yeah. A short while after her son's remains were identified, Bonnie Thomas revealed that Kevin's stepfather, Danny Thomas, was of was one of the people under investigation by the RCMP for Kevin's murder. So that's interesting because you have to put this in perspective. He wasn't treated as a suspect prior to them finding him, that they thought that he had something to do with it. But once that body was found, he was treated like a suspect. So what? Why? From, the time he went missing in 1994 to 2001, that's a lot of years to pass by. What was there? What information did they have that put them hot on his trail immediately to treat
Yeah.
him as a suspect?
And they haven't
Uh,
released what happened, right? So they haven't said whether
right.
it's a gunshot wound or whether he was
Mm-hmm.
stabbed or whether he was, beaten or strangled or, there's so many ways, but they said it was violent, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, um, stabbing is usually like a very intimate, not like intimate in that kind of
No.
way, but like
No, I know what you mean. Yep.
it's not something that someone would do like spur of the moment sort of thing. I don't feel like to a child. Like if it had been like a fight that had gone too far, then it would have been like blunt force trauma or something, I would have
Mm-hmm.
thought, like between a
Mm-hmm.
stepdad and a stepson.
Yep.
Um, so something must have given them that inclination, but then again, like as well as along with Daniel Martel, the stepfather is like gonna be the number one suspect, right?
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
I is that just typical? That once they realized he was no longer alive, that the first suspect is the last person to have seen him or that we know has seen him. And
Yes.
so that doesn't surprise me. I mean, if he had been shot with a certain type of caliber bullet, that they knew that he had at the time, then that would be something else, right? But
Yep.
then again, you'd have to then implicate his mother because he needed
Mm-hmm.
assistance. And I don't know much about the stepdad and what his reputation was at the time, if he was, had a history of violent assaults or, weapons and that sort of thing. Because it's hard to find that kind of information going back that far. But, that would also shed some light on the situation. But from what I understood, she did leave to go to PEI with him and her children because she couldn't stand the fact that she believed that the persons involved in her son's disappearance and death still were walking around in Stellarton. So that makes me think that it wasn't him, but I don't know. There's a few
Mm.
theories that we're going to talk about, right? So,
Yep. Yep. That's right. Um, yeah, his obituary, he was very well spoken of in his obituary.
mhm.
Um, he's passed away now. And I did read through the obituary, and there were, how you can leave a note.
Mhm.
Uh, there were very nice things stated about him, but I mean, that doesn't always mean anything either.
No, I
But,
mean, when we
you
go
know,
to read about Carl, there was nice
yeah,
things said about him
exactly.
too, so
Exactly. Um,
I'll take it with a grain of salt if you don't mind.
that's right. That's right. Um,
You don't
and
generally write horrible things in an obituary, I suppose,
yes, yeah, if you don't have nothing to say, you're probably not going to say anything at all. Yeah.
right?
Um, yeah. So, um, yeah, yeah. Now, for me, I would find it hard. I'd find it difficult to leave the area. I'd be exposing those because she states that she knows who they are. She's been given information of these names of these individuals, and oh, I'd be exposing the crap right out of them beyond.
Yeah, so would I.
But
I would find a way. I would find a way to
oh yeah,
anonymously log on
yeah,
somehow with a VPN
yeah,
in friggin'
yeah,
Texas, and I'd be I'd be vocalizing that.
yeah. And by the way, I did reach out to her while ago, and then and I put the FOIA request in as well, and was kind of waiting and waiting to see if I was going to hear anything back. And um, I did not hear back from her because I wanted to give her the opportunity now with the way things are now, the way that we can get information out there, and she's not here, she's on the island. I thought, this could be a safe way to get information out about these people that she states that she was told were involved in this crime and, like step this up a notch and expose these people, right? Get people talking. But she didn't reach she didn't contact me back. So, and that's fine. That's okay.
I I
Everybody's in a different place, but um, you know, things are different now with the technology we have and the information we can get out there and get the ball rolling on this after 32 years. What's left to do, right?
mhm.
Um, and maybe she asked and she was advised not to by police. I don't know. But
That's possible because, we don't exactly have the best reputation as, like, not you and I per se, but YouTube creators. Um, if you read what's said about us just with regards to the Jack and Lily case, we're pretty much looked upon as like sensationalizing things or misinforming and creating, narratives that don't exist and that sort of thing. So, which I understand because there is so much AI and sensationalism out there, so I can
mhm.
understand people's reservations with that. So I'll leave it
Yeah.
at that. I don't take it personal.
Oh God, no, 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 especially being, I mean, that's her son, and those are the circumstances she's in. I would never take that personal ever.
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah. Um, Retired Stellarton police officer Hugh Muir believed that there was more than one person involved in Kevin Martin's death. And I found that interesting.
Yeah.
This was especially true of the fact that it would be difficult to dispose of the boy's body if there were only one person doing all the work. It is highly likely that whoever killed him had chosen the logging road because they were familiar with the area. Muir strongly believes that there are still that the people, sorry, Muir strongly believes that there are people still alive that have information pertaining to the Kevin Martin case. There's no doubt in my mind there is. Stellarton was an extremely small town. It was the sort of place where people often left their doors unlocked or let the kids wander about town until the streetlights came on. Stellarton was the kind of close knit community where people knew a great deal about their neighbors, about what their neighbors were doing, and a lot of families had deep set roots in the areas with large family trees. The murder of a young teenage boys such as Kevin Martin rocked the town, shaking the idea that the town was safe. Stellarton wasn't the kind of place to get a lot of murders, to have a lot of murders, um, and big city crime. It was very low key, and that is all true. Kevin's mother, Bonnie Thomas, believes that she knows exactly who is responsible for her son's death. At some point, she was given information about three people who allegedly killed her son. She passed the information on to the police. The person who had spoken to Thomas was interviewed by the news, and that used to be our old uh, newspaper that we have here that doesn't exist anymore. So unable to find that article. They chose to simply go by the name Debbie. And she told the reporters that when speaking to a relative who knew the people involved in Kevin Martin's murder, she had learned exactly how Kevin Martin had been killed and by who. Though Debbie had told Kevin's mother and the police what she knew, there was never any arrests made in the case. Kevin Martin's younger sister, Samantha Cole, had only been 7 years old when her brother. Let's stop there. You said you have information on one of these individuals, one of these three individuals.
Do I have information on one of these three individuals?
I thought you said that when you we were looking at the McKay Street, or were you talking about Carl?
I was talking about Carl.
Oh, okay. I was wondering,
Yeah.
how did you get information on them?
Oh, I would love to
Because,
know. I would love to know.
oh,
I mean, I have my
well,
suspicions. I have my
yeah,
suspicions, but
yeah. I have the names, but I'm not going to say them because that's a big thing. I need more information before I would ever do that. Um, and it's only because I'm local. Um, and I was able to find out one of them's passed away. Um, yeah, and two of them are related. Um, yeah, that's
yes,
because I was
I
wondering how the heck did you figure out who it was? You're good, girl. I was thinking, man, she is good.
I do remember hearing something about there being two brothers, I thought. But I mean, McKay Street as well is quite notorious. So I've got a few theories, but I think the three that we discussed are probably the more likely ones, but
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, so there's theory number 2 is these 3 boys, or 3 guys. Now, I have to be honest, I as growing up here and being here when this took place and hearing the stuff that was being stated, I definitely knew that her husband was a suspect, and that was before they even found Kevin's body. That's what's always talked about. Um, and then Carl Skidmore was talked about, but kind of a handful of people, not like the spouse. Like the people around here, something happened when he was taken home that night to most people around here. That was the theory that stuck out.
Mhm.
The theory, this theory, I've never ever heard anybody ever talk about it. I did not hear about this until I started doing research on the case. And I was like, what? I've never ever heard that before. I've never heard anybody ever talk about that. I've never ever heard that before.
Oh,
Um,
that was the first theory I had heard, which
oh,
is funny.
wow.
Yeah, that was the first theory
Wow.
I had heard was that it was three older boys. Um,
Wow.
and then I heard about Skidmore, who was referred to as Skidmark by a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, um, and then I heard about the stepdad. So, and I know you and I discussed a bit earlier about how it could be a combination in some ways, and
Yeah.
between Skidmore and those older boys. And I
Yeah.
only based only because of what I read on how Carl would lure in these boys,
Hmm.
and it wouldn't be unheard of for these boys to bring other boys.
Absolutely. That's how it
So,
works.
yes.
Yep. You groom, and then you groom them to groom.
Yeah.
It's sick. Sick,
Yeah.
sick, sick. Yeah.
And nobody would want to
Um,
admit that either, especially in those day
mhm.
and ages. That would be something that people would,
Yeah,
I feel, would try to hide for the stigma
definitely.
attached to it, even though they were
Exactly.
even though they were
victims, yeah.
groomed themselves and lured in, the stigma of, being labeled as gay or something like that would have been a lot harsher than it is now.
Yep, definitely. Yep. So Kevin Martin's younger sister, Samantha Cole, had only been 7 years old when her brother's remains were discovered in Burnside. She vividly recalls coming home from school and her parents explaining that her older brother's remains had been found and that he had been positively identified as Kevin. It was it was deeply unfortunate because Samantha Cole never really got to know her older brother. As she had been very small when he disappeared. She is now married with two children. Although Kevin Martin has been dead for decades, Samantha Cole does her best to keep his memory alive for her children. The entire family do their best to make sure that the deceased teen is still remembered in Pictou County in hopes that someone might come forward with vital information. Kevin Martin's sisters, Samantha and Danielle, both had fond memories of their older brother before he'd gone missing. Kevin had Kevin had doted on his younger siblings, teaching them how to tie their shoes, help them to how to ride a bike. Kevin's sisters remembered how their older brother had loved orange pop and jalapeno chips. Samantha has a fond memory of her brother's favorite song, Whom There It Is. Remember that? He
Yeah,
used to
that's
sing it.
it's just so relatable, isn't it? Like, it's
Yeah,
just 'cause like I said, because I was the same age as
yeah,
him, it's just it just hits that much different, I think, that, you know,
yeah.
just it's
Very
it's sad.
sad. Yeah. Even now, after all these years, she still enjoys hearing the song on the radio, jamming to the catchy tune in her brother's honor. Though Kevin Martin may be deceased for years, the family do everything they can to help keep his memory alive. Kevin's brother, Corey McDonald, had gotten a tattoo to honor Kevin and another to honor seven-year-old brother Olin, who had died in the house fire in 1987. The surviving siblings often tell their children about their late Uncle Kevin and Uncle Olin, keeping the memory of the two deceased brothers alive in their memory as best as they can. Like, that is so sad how tragedy could hit one family like that. Um, man, Hugh Muir, who had been Stellarton's acting police chief, has spent years remembering the missing boy. Muir had worked on the missing persons case for 6 years until Kevin Martin's remains were discovered. It was at this point that the case was transferred over to RCMP. In the 90s, Stellarton Middle School and High School were two separate buildings just a short distance from downtown Ford Street. The two schools had a shared courtyard, shared the gymnasium, and had other facilities such as a football field across the street by the elementary school. It was quite common for the younger and older grades to mingle on lunch breaks, and there were extracurriculars for both schools. Though Muir hadn't known Kevin Martin very well, the missing boy had attended school with Muir's older sons. He recalls that Kevin had been a nice, polite kid. During a 1917 interview, Muir said the following: I'm approaching the end of my career. In 38 years of police work, this is one of the most frustrating cases I've ever been involved with. Yeah, I bet it would be. In May
Yeah.
2014, Kevin Martin's case was added to the Nova Scotia Rewards for the Major Unsolved Crimes Program. The program is offering $150,000 for the information leading to an arrest and conviction in the case. I wonder what took them so long to add it to it. It should have been added as soon as they found his body, if not prior to. That's kind of disappointing. Um, Bonnie Thomas hopes that the rewards program will be able to track down the people responsible for her young son's murder. I don't know how they can live with themselves, knowing what they've done to a little innocent boy that didn't deserve that. And that's what he was. He was a little innocent boy. He's only 13, said Bonnie Thomas about her late son. I know people know something, but they don't want to be forthcoming. I don't know if they're protecting someone or what. Oh, they're definitely protecting someone. And as usual, uh, in small communities, people just stay quiet, uh, you know. And Bonnie says, but please, please come forward. Heather Fairbairn from Nova Scotia's Department of Justice said the following about the rewards program. The program helps to raise awareness and encourages potential witnesses to come forward with information that may be helpful to investigators. Sometimes a single piece of information may be what police need to conclude their investigation and help bring closure to grieving family and friends. Any information that the program receives is turned over to the police. Fairburn encourages anyone to come forward, even if they only know a small amount of information. Just the smallest of information, seemingly inconsequential, could help solve the case. And I will show those numbers again at the end of this uh, live, guys. Did you wanna say something, Shan?
No, I was just squinting, trying to read. I will say a few things when you're done the article.
Yep. It has been decades since Kevin Martin disappeared and then turned up dead a few years later. Over the years, most of the family have moved from Pictou County to Prince Edward Island. Though they no longer live in the county, Kevin Martin's family make the annual trip to New Glasgow's Lorne Street Cemetery, where Kevin Martin was laid to rest. Aw, sad. To this day, there has been no arrest in the Kevin Martin murder case. It is now considered a cold case, although it has been 22 years, which it's 32 years now, since the boy's remains were discovered. The Bible Hill RCMP still get the occasional tip from the public. These are all followed up with hopes that they might lead to the arrest of Kevin Martin's killer. Kevin Martin's brother, Corey McDonald, said the following: hopefully someday it will be solved. We need to find out who did this so he can finally rest in peace. If Kevin Martin were alive today, he would be in his early 40s. He'd be older than that now because this was 10 years ago. So he'd be in his early 50s now,
No,
I
he'd be
think.
40,
Yeah, all right.
46.
He'd be your age. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Kevin, he would, if Kevin Martin were alive today, he'd be in his early 40s. He could have been a father, an uncle. Yeah. He could have gone to college and explored the wide world or stayed in the close knit community, but he died a heartbreakingly brutal death, buried in the woods, devastating his entire family and community in the aftermath of his murder. Over the years, Bonnie Thomas has learned about more potential tips in her late son's death. She knew that she couldn't get her hopes up anymore. As much as she hoped that the information given to the police would lead to an arrest, the information has never been enough. The people responsible for Kevin's death still roam free, while her son was ripped from her side. She firmly believes that the people responsible for her son's murder had formed a secrecy pact, making sure that nobody talked about the 1994 murder. It's a long emotional journey for us all, and we can find comfort coming here to visit with Kevin, said Bonnie Thomas in a 2014 CTV News interview. I don't usually cry, but it's just been hard. Our family's been strong, has gotten stronger. Um, in 2017, the family traveled from PEI to plant an apple tree in Kevin Martin's honor. The tree is located at the Salvation Army's Scotian Glen camp because this was where Kevin loved to spend his summers. Bonnie Thomas also collects donations through Facebook for the Salvation Army camp in her late son's honor every year. Kevin's relatives collect monetary donations as well as items like sleeping bags, towels, Kleenex, toothbrushes, body wash, pillows, combs, brushes, shampoo, etc. And that is members of Kevin Martin's family unveiling the memorial bench placed in Stellarton in his honor. Picture dating back to 2019, the 25th anniversary of his disappearance. Photo courtesy of Kevin Ashdale. And that bench is just down the road from me. If I was as mobile as I used to be, I'm not allowed to walk that distance anymore, or I can't, I should say. Um, it would take me like 5 minutes to get there if I was able to walk there right now. In 2019, the town of Stellarton had a bench installed in memory of Kevin Martin beside a local gazebo. The bench was installed on the 25th anniversary of the boy's disappearance and is located near the Jungle Jim's restaurant. May 19th, 2020 marked the 26th anniversary of Kevin Martin's disappearance. Because it took place during the pandemic, his family members weren't able to travel to Pictou County to grieve for him. It was extremely unfortunate because they wanted desperately to be there for their deceased relative. Friends of the family stepped up in place of the boy's family. They placed flowers on the young teen's grave, as well as hanging baskets of flowers at the gazebo in his honor. It was unfortunate that the family couldn't attend in person that year, though they had made plans to FaceTime with friends while they laid out flowers in Kevin Martin's honor. Bonnie Thomas planned on making the trip into town as soon as she was allowed to travel into the province. Over the years, Kevin Martin's family has lost a few members, chiefly Kevin's maternal grandparents, Kevin's stepfather, and a few other relatives. They died, never knowing the full story of what happened to Kevin or seeing justice for his murder. And that's really a sad thing. That's what breaks my heart with Sarah McDonald, with Kenley as well, that she's fearing that she's not going to have the answer by the time she dies. I'm sure Kevin's mother is, and these other relatives as well, and that's heartbreaking. His family has to also his family has also grown, his siblings marrying and having children. These are relatives that Kevin Martin will never get the chance to meet. Kevin's family will mark his disappearance this year with a food drive in Summerside, PEI. It will take place on May 14th, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Salvation Army Church parking lot. It is their way of remembering the kind boy that he had been, always wanting to help others, a boy that will live in their hearts forever and is never far from their thoughts. And again, you can just tell he's a sweet boy just by looking at that photo. It was probably one of the last photos of him because you can see a little peach fuzz there. So he must have been like, you know, 13, almost 14 there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yes, he was 13 in that photo. Probably one of
Um,
the last ones, if not the last.
yeah. It was a very thorough article. Um,
Very,
but it didn't
very.
really touch too much on Carl, though.
It's not done yet.
Oh,
It's a long article. Stellarton Police Chief Mark Hoback told reporters that although the Kevin Martin case is formally being handled by the RCMP's Major Crime Unit, his police department have always held an interest in the case, as Kevin Martin was a local teen. They keep an ear to the ground for any new developments and will pass along any pertinent information to the RCMP. Hoback firmly believed that despite the nearly 3 decades that have gone by, there is still hope that Kevin Martin's case will one day be solved. There are a great deal of theories surrounding the Kevin Martin case. Lots of locals suspected that Debbie, the person who came forward to Kevin's mother and the police, had been pointing the finger at the three teenagers that Kevin Martin had started to hang out with in the last few months leading up to his death. It was never proven that these teens were involved, and none of them were ever charged. But some people did believe that this was a strong possibility. Maybe they had ruled maybe they had lured him out to the logging road and killed him. It was believed that some of the kids Kevin hung out with were older in high school, and seeing as how there was limited public transit in Pictou County, its service traveled to some of the small towns in the area until it ceased in 1996. Somebody would have had to have drove approximately 40 kilometers to the logging road where Kevin's body was dumped. And that's one of the issues I had with that whole theory as well. And the fact that it's three people, that's a hard, when you have one person, because that one person usually always somebody else around that person knows something. Now you got three people and so that's three times the risk of information coming forward because those three people have people around them who probably know something that, like, do you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to believe that that would stay that quiet. That kind of struck me. But then again, you have this Debbie coming forward saying that her relative is a friend of one of these folks who did tell her something. So, uh, don't know. Were the teens responsible for Kevin's death? Was it a murder? Or maybe his death had been completely accidental and they buried the body so they wouldn't face jail time? Or maybe they weren't involved at all. It wasn't an accident. He was definitely brutally murdered. Another popular theory was that Kevin Martin had ended up dying at the hands of a predator. Perhaps he was hitchhiking and got into the car of the killer, or someone grabbed him off the street. Others believe that perhaps the fire that killed Olin Martin in 1987 was supposed to kill both brothers in that fire that night. But Kevin managed to get out alive. The house fire that killed Olin Martin had been ruled accidental. Some locals thought that perhaps the death of these two brothers in just a few short years meant that it was someone close to Kevin, a neighbor, a family friend, a relative, though it was clear that Kevin repeatedly ran away from home and that he was upset by personal matters. This is not sufficient evidence to suggest that anything awry was going on behind closed doors. It is all pure speculation. May 19th, 2022 marks the 28th anniversary of Kevin Martin's disappearance. Kevin Martin's family have never stopped grieving him, and they hope that one day there would be justice for their son's murder. It doesn't mention Carl. I thought it mentioned Carl. He is mentioned in another article, which you read too. Did you read an article about with Carl in it?
Not per se. I've
I
just
I
read I've read a lot of articles in the last little while. I thought I got actually the name of his through Reddit, Carl Skidmore's name. And it was also
Okay.
mentioned,
Okay.
yeah,
That might, because I read so much too. I know I read it in the stuff that I had read, and because
yeah.
my memory's so bad now, I thought it was this article. So what I'll do is go over to um the you want me to read through the obituary and then you can talk about your theory?
Sure, I don't mind
Or
reading the obituary unless you want to read it. It's up to you.
you got it there?
I have it here, yeah.
Okay. Why don't you bring it up? That way we'll give my voice a little rest.
Yeah, I know you just read for like an hour, so I know that what that's like. Um,
That was a really good article though, and I thought and I hope Charlie O'Brien does not mind. I just thought, let's do this article some justice and move it forward into YouTube land here,
Yeah.
because it was so well written and flowed so nice, and he did all that research and put that information together from the articles. He did miss out on Carl Skidmore, though.
Yes. And the reason why I want to bring him up and discuss him as a theory is that he was a local predator. He
Oh,
preyed
and it
specific.
yes, and it was 100% one of the theories. Like, I
Mhm.
can tell you as a local, 100% it was one of the theories. At
Yeah.
the time, he hadn't been charged with these crimes yet, but it was
No.
very well known. I can tell you that I knew about it. Everybody knew about it.
Mhm.
Everybody knew that this guy was the pervert. Everybody knew the stories about what he was doing. It was
Mhm.
never investigated. He was pillar of the community. He was a
That is
school
what bothers
teacher.
me.
He was this,
Yeah.
yeah, he was the guy involved in church. He was the Sunday school teacher, right?
Basketball
So,
coach. Like, we're going to
yeah,
read his obituary. And again, he's going to sound like he was, someone mentioned the sentence, and it's perfect, salt of the earth. And this is why it's very difficult for people to understand that people who put themselves in a position of trust or charity or public figures, they do that for a reason. It's part of the camouflage that gets them close to children and gets people to trust them because they think, well, why would Carl, who's like a teacher or a basketball coach or a Sunday school teacher, a volunteer, charity, all these things, why would he do something like that? But we're gonna read all the affiliations and all the ways he had access to children, and then we're going to read. I think the CBC article, Novah, is pretty good. It just discusses what was found in his home and what he was charged of. But we'll read the obituary
yes,
because
I have.
it gives. Sorry, go
Do you
ahead.
have that article up too? I have it up if you don't.
I have the CBC article, which
Okay.
is called Child PORN Probe Underway in Nova Scotia Town.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a couple out there, but that one seemed like it had the most.
Had the information, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just take
Yeah, I'll
myself
let
off
you do
camera
those.
and I'll read this one here. I'll read the
Yep.
obituary. Okay, so Carl Ronald Skidmore obituary, Stellarton.
But
Carl Ronald,
Shan,
yeah,
just before you start there, so keep in mind, guys, when Shan went over that map of where Kevin Martin lived, that that is the same neighborhood that Carl lived in. Okay.
yes.
And when Shan goes over the CBC article, I'll explain something to you then as well, or you can about the 7 and the 10-year-old, what I told you about them.
Yes, and so almost all of the areas that are mentioned that he was affiliated with are actually within walking distance to uh, Kevin's property. So, like the YMCA and the church, etc. So, um, C.R. Skidmore, aged 81, passed away on Tuesday, May the 17th, 2022, in Aberdeen Hospital, New Glasgow. Born in New Glasgow, he was the son of the late Vern and Nora Antle Skidmore. He spent his early days in Thorburn. After graduating from high school, he went on to Teachers College in Truro. He taught in various schools, including Parsborough and in Quebec. Note to self, look at missing cases in Parsborough and Quebec. He
Hmm.
then continued his education at Acadia University until 1965, where he taught at Pictou Academy for 3 years, and then to Espanola, Ontario for 2 years. Note to self, check Espanola.
Mm-hmm.
Returning to Stellarton, where he taught until 1991, Carl coached basketball in Stellarton from 1973 to 1984, and he was an international amateur official and obtained his level 3 coaching certificate. He was an AC class scuba diver, and Carl also studied at St. FX, where he received his master's in English. For a time, he was on the board of the local YMCA and a pioneer for the lifeguard service at the public beaches. He was a member of the First Presbyterian Church in Stellarton and had been a Sunday school superintendent and teacher, having also taught young people. Surviving are his sisters, brothers, nephews. He was predeceased by his brother and sister. Cremation will take a place. There will be no service by request, and burial will take place in Brookside. They should have just cremated him and threw him in the ocean.
Yep.
Save the money. So, yes, he was on the board for the YMCA. He was a teacher. He was a basketball coach. He was a Sunday school teacher. He had all the access that he could want. It was basically like a smorgasbord of options for him and opportunity in positions of trust all the way. And he would have been looked at as a trustworthy individual. His participation in the church, Sunday school teacher, basketball coach, he would have been looked at as someone who could be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm going to remove this and then bring up the article, Nova. So I'll stop screen and then
Yep.
add that.
So just
And
to just to take a quick break and lighten the mood
sure.
up here, look what
Yeah.
American Justice says she's going to do for her obituary.
Oh, I saw that she was, I'm going to write my own and say I hated people. Yeah. The
I'm a
last little
people
while,
hater.
I've been, yeah, I've been feeling that too. Yeah. I've been feeling that too. I'm going to write my own. I liked my family, but hated everyone else. Uh,
Oh my. And I tell you, it's a middle age thing too. I said, once you hit middle age, you're just kind of like, you know what? F all you effers.
yeah,
It's
that's
like,
I was
like, just F
I think
y'all.
yeah, I think people may have realized that I was feeling that way, and I continue to feel that way. I just don't have as you get older, you get less and less tolerant for BS.
Oh
You
boy,
just there's just no
don't you?
you just do. You just don't have time for it. It's
Yeah.
like, man,
I I've always been that way. Like people have always told me that. And I admit I've always been that way, but yeah, now it's even worse. Now it's even worse. It's like as soon as you now I'll stop you at like maybe 2 or 3 words as soon as I know this is going to turn into just pure bullshit. Just the hands up. Don't even bother. I'm not even gonna let exactly. You ain't even finishing it. Oh God. Okay, remove, and you're gonna bring up
Damien also
that
brought up a good
CBC.
point earlier on, saying a stepfather brings 500 to
Uh,
1500% increased in risk for fatal abuse. And yes.
yeah, I put that up on the screen actually. Yeah, when you were
Oh, did
reading
you?
it.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yep,
Uh,
yep. Very good point.
share screen. Right. All right, I've got it there. Okay, so I will limit some of the words just so you don't get completely doxed here. Um,
Yeah, the PORN might be broken.
yeah, I will spell that out. So Child PORN probe underway in Nova Scotia town. And this is dated February 20th, 2007. So this was 7 years after Kevin was found. And it would have been, he went missing in 94. So it was 13 years after he went missing. So
Yep. But
police say that just,
big talk as soon as Kevin went missing because everybody knew about this in town.
yeah.
Everybody knew.
Okay. Oops, wrong one. Um, Police say the discovery of a box full of videos in the home of a senior citizen has led to the first child PORN investigation in Stellarton, Nova Scotia. Local news reports say the man under investigation is retired high school teacher CS. While police won't confirm the man's identity until charges are laid, the lead investigator on the case said the suspect is who is very well known in the community, does have a record for SEXUAL offenses. There was public concern about the suspect, and that's what set off the investigation, said Corporal Paul Pence of the Stellarton Police. We had the use of an undercover police officer to get in the residence and secure some evidence, but to help us obtain a search warrant. Between 35 and 40 videos and audio tapes, many portraying local children involved in SCX UALLY explicit acts were seized from the home, police say. A small amount of marijuana was also found. Child uh, visuals charges, as well as drug and alcohol related charges, are expected to be laid against the 66-year-old man. Mr. Skidmark, a convicted SEX offender, taught English at Stellarton High School for more than 30 years before retiring in the early 1990s. A former coworker told the Globe and Mail yesterday. Mr. Skidmark also used to coach the boys basketball team in the 1980s. While the suspect was in custody at the police station on Friday night, a group of people broke into his home, ransacked it, and stole a safe that contained money and personal documents, Corporal Pence said. 4 adults and 5 youths are being charged with breaking and entering, theft, mischief, and possession of stolen property. Corporal Pence said the robbery was not linked to the investigation. I'm not sure I believe that.
No, that's definitely not true.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's something I believe at all.
No,
Um,
because does it talk about the tapes in there?
at the very beginning, yes, it said that there was 35 to 40 videos and audio tapes, many of them portraying local children involved in explicit acts.
Yeah. So they were stolen.
Hmm.
Somebody broke into his home and stole things, and some of them were tapes and other stuff, and found to be inappropriate materials involving children. And those thieves took those things to the police. So it was always thought here because everybody knew about him, but nothing was ever being done. Nothing was ever being done about it. And then that happened with Kevin, and of course there was thoughts that did he have something to do with it? And then that happened. So it was always kind of thought that that was intentional for those people breaking into that home. They probably weren't looking for anything else other than those materials to be able to report it, and probably rugs. Now, you have some thoughts on that, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying is very good speculation.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit out there, but it occurred to me
No,
that
definitely not.
it occurred to me that this teacher was known prolifically known to lure in. There's another article that we'll have to find here. He would basically supply um, marijuana and alcohol to boys, young men, and then in as a payment for favors of the sex kind. And obviously, he was recording these, both making videos and audios, tapes of these occurrences. So, a theory I had was possibly that Kevin had been lured into doing something like that because he was having problems at home. He was looking for someone to look up to. Maybe these older boys potentially could have mentioned or brought him over to Skidmark's place. And if, say, maybe they participated with something that happened with Kevin, and Kevin wasn't necessarily agreeable. Is it possible that this was caught on video? Is it possible that they had to do something about it so he wouldn't mention or say about what was going on? Um, I think the fact that his house was then broken into and items were taken, they knew that video had been taken. They knew that things had been on recorded, that maybe some of them went missing. Maybe some of the audio and video went missing. Um, so let's say in 2007, Skidmark was 66. So 13 years earlier, he would have been 53. I don't know how good shape he was. I'd be curious to know what kind of vehicle he drove. But is it possible that an older teenager, could have helped him move him? Is it possible that there's a code of silence involved? I mean, it wouldn't be the first time in Pictou County that there was a code of silence involved. Um, and back in 1994, um, we didn't have as much of as an accepting community, especially in small towns. And it would not surprise me that teenagers or young boys, wouldn't want to have their name brought up or targeted as being gay or something like that because
Right.
it's a small town, right? It's a small area, and even though they themselves were lured in and groomed into performing these acts, um, they would have felt responsible in some way, that they had done something wrong when in fact it was, you know, the perpetrator who had lured them in and groomed them. Um, but wouldn't be a far cry for to think that he would have made them feel like they were responsible for what happened, that they asked for it, or they were because they were being paid in kind some way for it. And you got to ask yourself, where was he in 1994? These marijuana was not legal either,
Mhm.
so he had to get it from somewhere.
Mhm.
And everybody knew that this is the kind of guy he was, but nobody would do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah, Lily. Kevin was having issues with his late stepfather, so Skidmark was someone that Kevin could look up to, and older teens looked up to. He was a basketball coach. He probably could relate to them, say things like, come over and we'll practice some moves. There's all sorts of things that he would have been just professional, professional at luring. And
Yep.
this would not have been, in fact, yes, one of his victims did end up stabbing him. So, I think it's quite obvious that he had a long standing reputation for doing inappropriate things with boys, and it took a long time for him to get convicted. Yes, and you've got this other article up. Is this the one where they say about him getting? No, this was, oh yes, because they dismissed the,
Yes, this is what this is about. That, yeah, and
yeah,
about the 7 and 10-year-old. And then I'm going to bring up the one about his victim who had stabbed him.
yeah,
But the whole thing is just disgraceful.
yeah.
Just
And
disgraceful.
the man that stabbed him was a key example of what can happen to a young man who was victimized, didn't receive treatment, probably wasn't believed, didn't want to say what had happened to him, and grew up to turn to an unhealthy way of handling his trauma. He turned to drugs and spent most of his adult life in and out of prison. Um, he managed to turn his life around, which we'll see, but it's just, yeah, one man created just an immense amount of trauma for a whole town.
Yep. And
And I'm
it
sure,
wasn't just here, like you said, Quebec and the other place there.
yeah, I'm gonna be looking into that. I'm actually just have a very hard time believing. I will never
Oh, yeah,
believe that someone just decides at the age of 53 to start doing these sort of things. I will not believe it.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. One of
Uh,
his victims ended up stabbing him. We're going to go over that article.
yes, and drugs and alcohol were used to intoxicate his young
Yes,
victims. Yeah.
absolutely, Ginger. And exactly, in regards to kids who are having trouble at home. So you look at, the trouble he was having due to the death of his brother, and then a new father, stepfather. Um, and these predators prey on those children. And like you said, he would have it perfected by that time because he's been around the kids, basketball, Sunday school, um, teacher. Like he knows. Ugh, God, it's sick,
It is.
sick.
It is. And like I said, you read his obituary and he sounds like he's the salt of the earth.
Oh yeah. Who could even write an obituary for that individual when they've been found guilty? They have that material. It's a well-known fact. I'm sorry. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Like
Yeah,
you'd be
he picked,
going, you'd be going under the earth without an obituary because, ugh, just disgusting.
yeah, yeah. Tambourine said he picked these jobs for a reason. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So very good possibility as a suspect for sure. And I think your connection there for sure is possible, right? Because that's what happens. So you have the predator who grooms and then grooms them to groom uh the younger boys. Um and that quite possibly could be what happened. Now, they never did find any material of Kevin, but who's
Yes.
to say that that wasn't gotten rid of? Um, you know, but he
Yeah.
kept all the rest of his trophies, right? Prized possessions, but got rid of that
Yeah.
if it was there because of Kevin's being murdered. If he and some of these other boys had anything to do with that.
Yeah. Or the
Yeah.
boys
This
were
or the
victims. The
boys.
people that broke into the property
Yep.
possibly were victims and involved and wanted to make sure that anything that they were involved in themselves perpetuating. was removed and the rest was handed in. I don't know. I'm just
Oh,
throwing
no,
it
it's
out
all
there.
possible. It's all possible. I mean, when you have someone who's been murdered and it's unsolved and it's a 13-year-old innocent child, any theory should be discussed, any possibilities, right? And all these
Mhm.
possibilities we're discussing, it's not pointing fingers or blaming, or it's trying to circulate, get people's thoughts going again as well, and get people thinking about this again and the possible theories. And, well, did I know something? Do I know something? Um, these are the possibilities of what could have taken place.
Yes,
And they need to be discussed.
I mean, what if this was an ongoing issue? What if this had been happening
Mhm.
to Kevin and that's why he was acting out? You
Right.
know, is that possible as to why he kept running up to his friends? Because every time he would walk to the park or walk to the school, his perpetrator would stop him and be like,
Right.
"Oh, come on in," or, and that he didn't think anyone would believe him, so he didn't bother. It's because he had run away before, or because he was skipping school, or because he had a reputation that he was developing that people wouldn't believe him, so he just didn't say. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
it's
maybe
just
these are things that his mom might know as well, because like I said, when you're saying he get in with some kids that, were into trouble and stuff, and then it's skipping school, that struck me.
Mhm.
I was like, that's not really trouble. That's typical.
No,
Um,
no.
and then it kind of makes you wonder, was there like something else going on that she knows of that she can't really put out there
Mhm.
because it's part of the investigative side of it, right? And if what you're talking about within your theory, that could be quite possible, and that she, has been given that information, right? That this is part of the whole Carl Skidmore thing, and those boys were groomed. They're older now, and they're being asked to groom the younger boys. Like, you don't
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it occurred to me that he could have been like if he had been doing this to older boys, and he had like a particular thing for younger boys and the older boys had sort of outgrown him, if you know what I'm saying, that he
yep.
could have been saying, bring me someone younger and, I'll buy
Yes,
your
absolutely.
marijuana and
Mm-hmm.
alcohol for you, and,
That's how it
these
goes.
poor boys might have been like, whatever gets you off my back, sure, and oh, I know this one kid, or you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
it's not the population isn't that large, and that these kind of perpetrators go for victims that are more vulnerable, who have, like, unstable home lives and that sort of thing.
Sex versus myth. Yes, he is. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if he's retired yet. I think the last I heard he was in Westfall policing. Um, but he might be retired now. But he is definitely he grew up the road from me. I grew up in Trenton. Yeah. Yeah, all yeah. It all makes sense, right? As a possible theory. It's not definitely not way out there. Yeah. So this next one is actually a recording. So it's not long though. So if you have to grab a drink or have a pee, or yeah, boys have many different behaviors than girls in these types of abuse. They do. And especially back then too, Ginger. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, boys would have had
They do use their victims to recruit new ones, Damien says. Absolutely, Damien. Sorry, Shan.
no, no, I was just gonna say that boys in particular, um, it's known that will harbor not more shame, but are more reluctant to come forward, about, SA, because there is just so much stigma attached to it, in either case. But, it is far less likely that a male will come forward than a female.
Yep. Statistics have proven. Yes, tambourine. Yep, I remember that. Yep. We're going to get into that right now, facts versus myths. Yeah, it's a recording of CBC News. We're going to play that. So, guys, get prepared to feel very pissed off. I'm just going to say it. You're going to feel very pissed off. If only marijuana wasn't illegal then. I like to see future of no more secrets and rumors of our great uncles, etc. Yeah, it's so challenging to come out and speak against family. Yep, indeed. All right, let's hit play on this. If you guys have any issues hearing this, let me know. Or just say it in chat, I mean.
Sex offender denied parole in drug conviction. CBC News, posted, July 8, 2008, 4:43 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. A convicted sex offender with a history of preying on young boys has been denied an early release from a prison sentence for drug trafficking. Carl Ronald Skidmore, a retired school teacher from Stellarton, was handed a 2-year sentence in January. The National Parole Board rendered its decision on July 4. In denying Skidmore parole, the board cites a March psychological profile that found he is a high risk to reoffend, in a sexual manner. Police raided Skidmore's home in February 2007. He was charged with a number of offenses, including trying to buy sexual services from young people. After he pleaded guilty to 3 counts of trafficking marijuana, the other charges were dropped. In its report, the parole board quotes police as alleging that Skidmore had been providing alcohol, drugs, and money to young males in exchange for sexual favors. Skidmore was previously convicted of 2 sexual assaults for separate attacks against boys ages 7 and 10.
Man, that just yeah, Ginger, 2 years for marijuana charges that today he wouldn't even be charged with. Um, Now those 2 boys, 7 and 10, I'm not sure who they are because, of course, their names were kept quiet, but I am aware of 2 brothers that he had done that to that were around that age, so I'm not sure if they're the same victims that they're speaking of. And, um, they lived in the same area along where Kevin lived on one of the side streets, and Carl lived in that neighborhood as well. And he had did that to those 2 boys. So whether that's the boys they're speaking of in this article, I'm not sure. Um, and those 2 boys, there was a bridge here in town. It's an iron bridge now, but it was wood at the time. They had just put up the new bridge, and it was wood, very, like, big pieces, like, giant, I don't know what size of wood, but it was huge. And, and they burnt that bridge down. They were starting to get into trouble as just these young boys because of what was done to them. Just it's sad, it's sick, and it's sad. And I mean, our sentencing needs to be tougher here in Canada on these people. They don't stop. And um, to, they gave him the I don't I don't understand why he wasn't charged for both. I don't understand what happened there. What the purpose in that was. I don't understand why. But it's bizarre. It's
Yes,
maddening.
and if you go to the article of Robert Anthony Thibault. Um, I feel like it's a really good indication of what happens uh, when things go untreated. He was a victim of Carl's,
Mhm.
and I don't think Carl ever had
Paid a
any.
price for that.
Yeah, never paid a price. Well, he did ultimately.
Yeah,
He did ultimately. Should I read that article?
sure. Plymouth Park Bridge, Dragonfly Lover. Not it's not hard to tell the folks who are from, the area. That's correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
God
I think
love
it
them,
was a
those 2 little buggers. What a sin.
yeah. And it's not just
That's
Canada
right.
that has
Oh,
these
no, no.
terrible,
No,
terrible
no, it's in the States as well. It's
crimes.
all around the place.
Yeah. I was made aware of an article um of a man in this in the UK, and he had arred and sodomized his own daughter for like I think it was 5 years. And because he had elders of his Jehovah's Witness church speak for him,
Oh,
and
yes, of course.
plead plead for him and say how repentant he was, he actually only did 2 months in jail. 2 months.
Nice.
So it's just baffling. It's baffling, and I'm not laughing as in it's funny. It's just baffling
No,
on
it's yeah,
how
it's so
these things are allowed to
perplexing.
occur. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and I'm sure they're gonna allow him to now come over to their home and babysit their children.
Yeah. Well, he's repentant, he's a saved man,
Mhm. Of course he
but,
is.
um, now I'll read this. So this is, a Riverton man was accused of stabbing a 66-year-old Stellarton man in his home late Wednesday afternoon, will appear in court Monday morning. Robert Anthony Thibault, 31, is in custody until then. He is charged with stabbing Carl Skidmore several times in the back. Stellarton police said the wound came very close to his spine. He is currently in hospital in Halifax. The Capital Health Authority was not able to provide a status update on his condition at Skidmore's own request. A Riverton man accused of stabbing 66-year-old Stellarton man in his home late Wednesday afternoon will appear in court on Monday. Robert Thibault is in custody until then. He is charged with stabbing him several times in the back. Stellarton police said one wound came close to his spine. Um, Police say the victim and the accused are acquainted with each other. Skidmore, a retired school teacher, is currently facing S-related charges involving youths. Those include 2 counts of S touching of a young person between the ages of 14 and 18, and 3 counts of obtaining SEX services for the purpose of consideration from a young person. Skidmore is also charged with several counts under the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act, Tobacco Act, and Liquor Control Act, including one newly laid charge of providing alcohol to a minor. His next return date to court is June 11th. So these he was charged as well for 14 2 counts for someone between 14 and 18, as well as the boys that were 7 and 10 years old.
Yeah.
So clearly he didn't really discriminate on age, it appears.
Mm. Nope.
Um, and this guy lived till 81 years old. How? It's mind blowing. It's
Mhm.
mind blowing. And they didn't let him out early. That was one of the things I was going to read was that um, Skidmark was um, eligible for parole, and they didn't let him out because they felt that he was actually at high risk to reoffend, even at his older
Yeah.
age.
He might
Um,
have That might
So
be the other one I have up here.
you just know that this was an ongoing issue. And now I'm definitely going to have to dig into the areas that he lived in because um, I have no doubt that it's possible that he was responsible along with others for Kevin. And also, others. I just don't believe that that would have been his one and only time either. Where was that guy located that only got a few months? Surrey, I think it was Surrey. Going back to the 2000, early 2000s.
No, I thought I had that one up, but I don't. I read it today though.
He had a fake glass eye. Ugh. I had it too. Let me see if I can find it. I know I had it like recently.
You remember him, Dragonfly Lover?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, definitely Ginger.
Yeah, here it is.
While you're reading that, I'm going to run to the bathroom, okay?
Yeah. Um, you got it up there?
Yep.
Okay. He taught you as well, Dragonfly? Oh my goodness.
Oh, God.
Um, okay. So, a convicted S offender with a history of preying on young boys has been denied an early release from prison sentence for rug trafficking. Carl Skidmark, a retired school teacher from Stellarton, was handed a 2-year sentence in January. The National Parole Board rendered its decision on July 4th. In denying Skidmore's parole, the board cites a March psychological profile that found he is a high risk to reoffend in an SEX-UAL manner. Police raided Skidmore's home in February 2007. He was charged with a number of offenses, including trying to buy SEX-UAL services from young people. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of trafficking marijuana, and other charges were dropped. In its report, the parole board quoted police as alleging that Skidmark had been providing alcohol, rugs, and money to young males in exchange for SEX-UAL favors. Skidmore was previously convicted of 2 SEX-UAL assaults for separate attacks against boys ages 7 and 10. So we know that he was charged with 2 boys 7 and 10, and then 2 boys or 2 cases between boys that were 17 or between 14 and 18. Um, so again, he was prolific. Yeah, Skidmark wasn't the only active one back then. In 1980s to 2001, a man ran wild grooming and SA use in Pitt County and other areas, decades of crime, but over 2 decades to finally get him charged. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is usually something that these monsters do for decades.
Is that,
And
are you facts and myth versus myth? Are you talking about the individual who teaches horseback riding lessons? That's another one they just caught recently and was teaching children horseback riding.
wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you just reminded me of
Yeah.
that other case that just came out from out west about that friggin' psychopath that was R-ing the horses. Did you read about that?
No.
Oh, don't,
Gross.
don't.
No, I won't.
It's just, it's, yeah. The Catholic priest at the Lord's Church. Oh, goodness.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Still can't believe they let DW is out living in Dartmouth. Recently got Dave Prohl. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the two sadists.
Disgraceful.
I know.
Yeah.
I saw Maritime Happenings had released had done a small write up on that as well, and you just like how can you allow someone who ard a 12-year-old, decapitated her, broke her legs, dismembered her, and carried her head around in a freaking bag. How can you
Right.
let someone like that out on the streets ever again?
And it wasn't his first victim. Come on,
No,
right?
no, he
No.
had ard an 8-year-old girl, and then while he was in prison for that, he told the parole board that he had fantasies of going in and massacring children at school.
Yeah. And he tried to kill another young lady. I don't know if she was a teenager or a young woman, and she got
Mhm.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, the school thing, and then you let him out.
yeah, I just, and then
S
we still have people in there in jail for like possession multiple possessions of like marijuana, and it's like, why don't you let them out and keep
Right.
these friggin' monsters in? Like, not saying that, traffickers should be given a clear, you know,
No,
be
no.
let off, but, I'm sure there are many people that don't deserve to be in there versus the people that should be in there and are let out because
W
our prisons
but
are over.
look at what is part of the issue in the cycle of, rugs, is people who have gone through this,
Mhm.
you know? That's one of the things
Yeah,
that can create the mental health issues in that individual who is
yeah,
dependent on those drugs and alcohol, or it's because what was fed to them as we just read in those articles, the young boys, and then they're dependent on that and living with the trauma besides it and continue to remain dependent. So if you're going to the tougher sentence should be in the area that's contributing to the cycle of, part of the cycle. It's not
yeah,
always, but it just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense at all. The harsher punishment should be towards those individuals creating those issues, and then they go to prison and they get all the free therapy, and we want to try to rehabilitate this sex offender before we let them back out on the streets. Well, what are all their victims getting free therapy?
yeah, really. No,
No, I don't think so, right? And we're paying for that. It's just it's it's messed up. It is a
it is.
messed up system.
It is. So we basically, for Kevin Martin, have three theories that we had discussed, right? Which was um, the first suspect that they had brought up was his stepdad. The second was these older boys. And then the third was Carl. But I wonder if maybe two and three could be related some way.
Mhm.
Um, and whether or not the stepdad could have been completely eliminated based on his injury, um, I would like to know more. I mean, it has been 32 years. I feel like more information could be released at this time by the major crime on the uh, reward for unsolved major crime. I mean, I feel there could be more information released with circumstances surrounding his death. Um, Knowing that area that he was found in, um, I would suggest somebody was used to fish there, perhaps near the waterfall. Um, where exactly was he found? That
Mhm.
would be I feel important too. Um, and people who perhaps would commit something like that could return to that spot, right? So if we knew where it was, maybe somebody would come forward and be like, I saw that vehicle, or this guy used to go there all the time to go fishing. He invited me one time. Like
Yep,
if there was just a bit more information released, then it could lead to that tip that solves it, right? Um,
exactly.
I just,
Go ahead, sorry.
I implore the RCMP and Stellarton police and the major crime to release a little bit more information. Um, Maybe even like a video reenactment of where he was last left from, and just something more. Too much time is gone by, and his family needs answers, and the
Yeah,
people need to be brought to justice. Like
yep,
it's even if it is Carl who had passed away, even if it was the stepdad who has passed away, there are those people had help, and
that's right.
even us
So
talking
there's
about it
still
now.
somebody else out there that knows.
Yeah, and people are not talking about it. People are just, again, it's that code of silence where, people just don't want to talk. They don't want to rat people out, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, a 13-year-old boy who
I know.
hadn't even lived his life yet was brutally murdered and
Right. Not hurting a
treated,
soul.
yeah, treated like garbage, and just,
Garbage.
you know, it's um it's not right. And if we don't start giving um tougher sentences and for these kind of criminals, these repeat um pedophiles who target
Yep.
children over and over and over again. It's just, we need to start setting a precedent so that this stops, and that it's just disgusting. I think
Yeah.
I will Dragonfly. I think maybe myself and Nova could maybe send out a message or reach out to Hugh Muir and see if maybe he could shed some light, because I would love to do a part two with Nova's
Me
inquest.
too. And I
Um,
I kinda felt like this was gonna be the beginning of this for us, and
yeah.
that we need to have a part 2. We need to
Hmm.
push to get more information out there, and I was gonna pretty much say what you had said about with the RCMP. um, they're asking, they're asking for the tips, and anybody out there might know that one little thing that you don't think is important, but give a little bit more information so that that one little thing, clicks in somebody's head. Like you said, a reenactment of the area, give the public something, the same as what they're doing now with the Lily and Jack case. I get that times have changed. You know, the way things were done before by just keeping everything hush, 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 and so
Hmm.
close to the vest. This is 32 years cold. Come on. You know, it's time to take the next step here and give the public a little bit to work with here to spark something in this case again. Um, or else it's going to stay cold. It's just going to sit there and stay cold, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should reach out um and see if he'll talk to us.
Yeah, let's touch base tomorrow and come up with um a letter that we can, and a way to reach out to um Hugh Muir, as well as to because maybe he's more able to speak because he's retired, as well. He might have
Exactly.
more freedom to speak. And
Yep.
see, we'll start there and see how that works, and then go from there. Because yeah, this is something that's been bugging me since I first sort of started looking into it. And there are people out there that know, and it just somebody needs to somebody needs to speak up, and we
Yep.
need to get the evidence. But yeah, I need to. I'm going to have to let you go because I need to go and say goodnight
Yep.
to my children. It's already 9:45. I don't know what happened with the time.
I know. Well, that was a lot of information. I knew it was going to
Yeah,
be a little bit long, and just
yeah.
especially when you get into those theories. Um,
I could go on for
yeah,
another
sure.
couple of hours, but
Oh, I know, eh? Um, excuse me. My throat's dry from all the reading. Yeah, go ahead. Shan gave you a $20 super sticker there. I think it's you. It's hard to tell who it is. Um, and Liz Nova
I
Scotia
did say thank
Strong.
you.
Oh, you do. Okay. Liz Nova
Yes.
Scotia Strong, thank you for becoming a member. And we'll just do the little dance there. Uh, I have my new song and it's called Forever Friend. So perfect, perfect song.
I'm gonna love you and leave you, and I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and we will try to get some more information coming for this case.
Yes, ma'am. I will connect with you tomorrow. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone, for being here. Thank you. Please, please, please share this. This is the one time I'm going to beg you with my heart and soul to please share this video. Um, the if if it has a paperclip icon, it is the non-host. Oh, thank you. I didn't know that. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna
Still
go. I gotta
learning.
go say goodnight.
All right.
Okay. Bye,
Lots of
guys.
love, positive vibes. Bye, Shan. All right, everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining. Please, please share. Lots of love to you all. Lots of positive vibes. And I will see you again. I've been going through some material in the Lily and Jack Sullivan case, and I will be coming on to to have a chat about that case as well. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to close out with, uh, we'll show that number again, and then we'll show Kevin again with an outro song. And where's that number? There it is. And yeah, and I will see you guys again sometime. Thanks everyone. Bye. Lots of love, lots of positive vibes.